they're definitely Ohtani. If they go to the postseason with this rotation and Ohtani's not pitching, something's wrong. That's why they give him all the money. That's why they paid him so much.
They actually got a great deal, I think.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Still, they paid him a lot of money, and it's because he can do two things. I want to see the second thing. I want to see him do two things. I want to see him do what he's paid for.
What do you do? They made their money back like tenfold.
Yeah, but
he's like the most underpaid athlete in sports.
Yeah, right now he's getting paid $2 million a year.
He's being exploited.
They paid $700 million. They paid it. They paid. Well, might as well. They paid for two things. They're not getting both. He's shorthanding them.
He's short-handing them?
He's short-shifting them.
Oh, my God.
They paid for two things. Welcome back to Dodger Debate, everybody. My name is Bill Plaschke. I'm LA Times sports columnist here with Dylan Hernández. And Jack Harris isn't here yet, and he's the leader of Dodger Debate, and he's not here yet. We got to find him, Dylan. We got to find him for being late.
He wins one APSC award, and he thinks the world revolves around him now.
It's unbelievable. Jack's supposed to be here. He knows what time. We have two rules on this show. Be on time. Oh, there he is. You're getting fined, Buster.
I think noon. What time is it?
12:01.
Right on the dot.
12:01. Two rules on this show. Be on time and be awake.
Hey, we're supposed to be on time here, like Japanese bullet trades.
Well, I thought I was the awake part. You guys were the on time part. So
You being late reminds me of I brought a bobblehead today.
I see this.
I want to start a thing of bringing the worst bobblehead of my collection. Who is this? You don't know.
Verdugo?
Alex Verdugo.
Wow.
That's good.
My nephew got a one-of-one Alex Verdugo card, which is very kind of like a shame. If you're going to get a one-of-one card, so there's only one in existence. They're like these, it's like the Tops now like to kind of like boost interest in their product. Like they'll make like a parallel card, like a special card, and there's only one of one. Obviously, if you get like Ohtani, it's worth thousands. But he got Alex Verdugo.
Alex Verdugo.
Dude, he's worthless. Has Austin Barnes ever had a bobblehead?
Yes, he had a removable catcher's mask last year or the year before. Yesterday I had to look. I was like, oh no, does Barnes have a bobblehead coming up later this year? But
you said that Barnes is gone?
I don't think so. I mean, he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
It was sad. I don't know.
Baseball.
Am I personally sad? Like
I'm a little bit sad, to be honest.
That too. I mean, he was kind of
he was a different kind of
11 years.
Yeah, and I think like his career with the Dodgers you kind of saw like the value he brought, right? For how unproductive his bat was at times. Obviously, like his arms, like all the time. Hey, he hit 263 last year.
He always called me Mr. Plaschke and said he watched me around the horn. So I got a deep feeling on heart for the guy. Especially remember
the way to your heart
in the 2020 World Series, first player to do what? One game. Remember?
No.
To have a sacrifice button and a two-run home run.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
That's some intense trivia there.
That's unbelievable.
This is like his around the horn trading, right? It's like, oh, that's worth 3 points.
That's unbelievable. Think about it. Yeah, sacrifice button and two-run home run in the same game.
And a very important single off Blake Snell that year. That was Dave Roberts' first memory when he was asked for his favorite Austin Barnes moments.
Yeah, but that's, just to take a moment here to appreciate 11 years, man.
Right.
For, again, he wasn't like a top prospect, but he kind of found his role. And, I think for like a lot of kids that are out there, right? I mean, you learn how to catch, right? You learn how to block balls in the dirt. You learn how to call a game and kind of guide pitchers the right way.
The moment I think that stood out the most to me about Barnes was when either he was hurt or maybe Will Smith was hurt a couple years ago, and they had to bring in, I think it was Austin Wins, who's a good, like, experienced big league catcher. But the Dodgers ask a lot out of their catchers when it comes to the game planning, when it comes to the very meticulous kind of pitch sequences and not game script, but just the way they want their catchers and pitchers to work together in the flow of the game. And when they dropped somebody new from outside the organization into that in the middle of the season, like, it didn't go well. There were a lot of very choppy starts. I think like he caught one from Julio Urias and Wrigley Field that year where it's just like, yeah, you can't just drop anybody into this role. And I think that Barnes' longevity with the team kind of spoke to, what they expect out of catchers, how much they put on their plate, and the kind of guy you need to help stabilize a pitching staff and stabilize, that those team meetings before games, the game planning meetings, all that. And that's what he really excelled at. And the fact that in a year when they're trying to compete, in a year where they're trying to defend a World Series, that they no longer felt that he was the best option there, I think speaks to how good Dalton Rushing is, or how much potential he has as a hitter, as somebody who's developed, when it comes to some of the more nuanced parts of the catching position. And also, Dalton Rushing's coming up here. He's not going to play every day. A big reason why they wanted to do this now and put him in this environment and were willing to part ways with Barnes is because they want him to have a lot of time where he's not playing every day yet to kind of figure out how that daily process and routine looks, and how they build game plans, and how they communicate with their pitchers about how they want them to attack guys during starts or during games. So that was kind of the impetus to this. Again, I think Austin Barnes showed that it is a role that there's a lot that goes into it outside of the hitting piece. That's why he was here for so long. But also because of that, they want to try to give Dalton Rushing an extended run here because they still see his future behind the plate. Maybe eventually you see a little bit of left field, or his other positions are first and DH, which are a little blocked up right now.
Well, you look at like Sasaki, it got better when Barnes was back there. Kind of one thing that I've kind of heard from, I can't really tell, but one thing that I've heard is, that Smith calls games a lot more based on like the hitter's weaknesses, whereas Barnes maybe goes more to the pitcher's strengths a little bit more, right? And
sure.
And over the years, obviously we've seen pitchers that have preferred Barnes, right?
Including Kershaw, right?
Yeah, Kershaw's one of those guys. I don't know. Do you see any kind of risk here in letting go of a Barnes for that reason?
A little, because I think if Will Smith were to get hurt, right? I think what becomes more important there is having somebody behind the plate who you trust to handle the pitching staff on a daily basis, which Will Smith has gotten better at. Yes, he does it in a little different style. I think Barnes is like one of those guys that's very attentive to kind of sensing like what's happening in a game, what a pitcher is doing well, what can I go to? Like with that Roki start, it was like he was stealing him a couple strikes with the fastball, and then every time he got ahead in the count, right to the splitter. So I think there is some risk there. Again, the trade-off is they think that Rushing's at a place where if he does have to take over that role, he can do it. But that in the meantime, he can get better, in case that does happen in June or July or later this season, that they're not just going to be throwing Rushing in cold from the minor leagues, that he will have been here for some time to learn how life in the big leagues, or what life in the big leagues is like, what he needs to do to put his pitchers in a position to succeed. And then also, gives you just a much higher upside with the bat with where he's at right now.
So maybe Barnes stays around as a consultant?
I think he'll catch on with another team probably. Like if you're looking for a backup catcher, it's still somebody who can get hot for a couple weeks. Like I said, like he hit 263 last year. He wasn't – part of the problem this year is the bat wasn't as good. And I think especially like the controlling the running game is the team for 15-16 stealing against him. Like he one-hopped a throw into second base in Arizona this past weekend. So I think there were some weaknesses that for a team like the Dodgers that has a really good catching prospect that was ready to come up, it made sense. But I think there are going to be other teams that are looking for a backup catcher, somebody with veteran experience that because of injury or whatever else. Like I'd be surprised if he doesn't catch on with somebody.
I assume we'll see him at some point, right,
Yeah,
as a coach in the organization, and
too.
maybe a future manager type if he wants that.
Kershaw has to be upset. Kershaw's going to be mad about this.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the level of like when the AJ Ellis thing happened. He's at a different stage of his career. I think
he seems just happy just to be back.
Right.
He was like, he's overjoyed.
Yeah, I don't think Clayton Kershaw will be making a huge stink out of this, just given where he's at, where Barnes was at in his career. AJ Ellis was catching him like every start basically at that point, right? And that just wasn't the case with Barnes. So I'm sure personally he doesn't want to see one of his closer friends and his longest teammate in the clubhouse go. But again, at the same time, the Dodgers have kind of been grooming Dalton Rushing for this. They had him leading catchers meetings during spring training to give him a taste of what the daily experience of the big leagues might look like. And I will say, we've seen this team have really good catching prospects in the past that they never figured out how to benefit from at the big league level. And they're clearly trying to be more aggressive in this situation to get some of the production out of Rushing's bat that they think he has.
And Plaschke's got some poetry for us.
I know.
So on Thursday, the Dodgers announced a plan to renovate and reshape Chavez Ravine. I've got another one. Bring up Clayton Kershaw. So amid great fanfare, Frank McCourt has revealed he will make a huge money commitment to keep the Dodgers accessible and relevant. Here's another way. Bring up Clayton Kershaw. It's time, okay? The organization's most glittering prospect is ready to have his light shine in the only place it matters. One of baseball's best young arms is ready to throw those swerving heaters and looping curves to the only batters who count. Bring up Clayton Kershaw. 2008. I pushed to bring him up. 2008.
Yeah, didn't he kind of stink when he first came up?
Yeah, he stunk. But I was there pushing him.
And then he was good. You were ahead of the curve.
He's got more.
Yeah, but then here's the problem with Kershaw.
It's the problem.
21 times in his career, I have written about his walk-up music. Fun.
You're not excited to hear that on Saturday?
I've written that so much. 21 times I've relied on that.
Some people were like singing that around the dugout yesterday, like, "Ooh, Kershaw's coming back tonight."
Trivia: Who's the guy that sings it?
It's fun.
No, but who's the
person?
person?
I don't know.
Nate Royce.
There you go.
Oh.
That's
Plaschke's
you got
ready.
a lot of trivia today.
I've used that 21 times.
Okay, my other take on this Barnes rushing thing.
Are we going to keep going on this?
Well,
People are going to tune out.
This will segue. I don't know. People love Austin Barnes, but
you said Rushy led the.
You know what the problem here is?
What do the catchers do in the catchers meeting?
Here's
your mask. Here's your cup. Put it on. What do they do?
They're going over. Okay, this is what a hitter's weaknesses are. This is how we want to attack them the first time through, the second time through. This is what we want to do in this count. This is how we want to put them away. This is how we want to manage certain situations that might pop up. This is what we want you to look for from the pitcher. Like, there's a lot of that stuff.
You're putting Plaschke to sleep.
Yeah,
Go on.
Okay, hurry up.
I can't tell by this sunglasses.
Hurry up and segue.
It's not rushing. Austin Barnes is really boring. Just go to something else.
Well, the thing that might be most...
the meetings themselves must just be terribly boring. And then
I'm
even
sure.
more boring is talking about this boring meeting.
Here's how you put your cup on.
Hey,
Here's how you
man,
put your shin guards
it's
on.
the magic of baseball in the nerd age.
Well, where were you trying to lead us into?
Well, Austin Barnes is not the only veteran player that has been struggling on this team, like a long-term guy. And I do think that, what surprised me about this is that they picked up Barnes' option in the offseason. And that to me is a signal like they trusted him enough to bring him back. They're going to give him time to work through whatever he's working through. Like, they're not going to cut bait that quickly. That was my read on it. And so as you start to look at the rest of the roster, like next week, Teoscar Hernandez and Tommy Edman are supposed to be back. You're going to have a decision to make between Hae-Sung Kim and Chris Taylor. Max Muncy hit a home run last night, but continues to bat below 200, hasn't looked like himself. I think he'll get more time to work through it, but at some point, this is the kind of move that suggests to me that we've seen in the past couple of years the Dodgers have been kind of hesitant to part with some of these guys that have been with them for a long time, especially in the middle of the season in a circumstance like this. And to me, this did kind of signal like they're not afraid to make some notable changes, just based on like the names, if they feel like some other options they have either internally or maybe that they can acquire externally pop up. And I think it could be relevant, again, because next week they're going to be in a very similar situation, I think, deciding between somebody who's been with the team for a long time and a younger player that they've added that, they're excited about what they might
You're
be
saying
able
they're
to
going to
do.
cut Chris Taylor.
Well,
That's what you're saying.
they're going to have a decision to make unless somebody else goes on the IL or the roster changes. But again, Edmund and Teoscar will be back. I'm sure James Outman will get optioned, but then you're going to have a choice. And if you think they're just going to hold on to guys for the sake of sentimentality and they've been with us for a long time and have done a lot of good things, that was my other kind of read on this.
Well, but it's also different. What was Barnes, like 3.5?
Yes.
And Taylor's, 17?
But the Taylor part, like he's in the last year of his deal now.
Right.
So, yes, it's like a $13 million salary this year with a buyout of a club option next year. But since you don't have like those future financial commitments hanging over you, I think they're,
I don't know, because I think it's a little different though, right? Because like Barnes had like a clear role on the team, right? And the thing is, if you kind of let him hang around in any kind of capacity, because this was about moving on, right?
That is fair.
I'm not sure Taylor is really like in that boat, right? So I think You know, he might. What do they used to give guys all the time? Plantar fasciitis, right? They're going to spin the injury wheel, and you know, my guess is that they'll find a way to kind of keep him around.
That's possible,
you know.
but
Why do they love him so much? I mean, he's had great moments, but
You were the guy you're gushing about him last week.
No, but I've seen him. I'm off him now because
You're off of him now.
Because they get
Over 1 week.
If they get rid of Austin Barnes, if Austin Barnes can go, why is he still here? That's my question. I mean, what do they like about him?
I mean, he's been here to this point because was signed to this big contract, and if you had cut him in past seasons, you would have still had the money hanging over you now. So I think there was partially like, well, if we're going to have the money on the books, let's see if we can get some production out of him, you know, in the meantime. He is versatile. He can play a lot of positions. He can fill in at different spots if there's injuries.
Yeah, that's true.
And if, you know, he hasn't really played enough this year. Like, he's barely played. So it's tough to know, like, if he could get hot, if he could get his swing on track, if there, you know, would still be something there. Like, I think to Dylan's point, like, this is true. Like, it would have been tough to, like, you know, do a phantom IL with Barnes or something where, like, they wanted to clear the way for Rushing to come up here and have an established role, which I think they feel like will help make up developmentally for, like, the less at-bats. And
on the other hand,
Chris Taylor
right.
and the whole rest of the roster's in a different...
On the other hand, though, Taylor hasn't really figured in, like you said, he's played so little that he basically kind of had, right, it's clear he's not in their plans, one way or the other.
Sure. And
they're not talking about actually, like, getting rid of Muncy at this point, are they?
No,
So,
but...
yeah, so that's, you know, he'll get time.
All right, who I'm going to read you a column. I want you to tell me what part of this column is actually true and how much of it is false. He has better control than Shohei Ohtani had at the same stage of his career. He was more athletic than Hideo Nomo was. He throws harder than Yu Darvish.
Okay, so it's a Japanese player.
Roki Sasaki is the most talented pitcher in Japan has produced. And at 23 years old, a 6'4" frame is a 102-pound mile-an-hour fastball is now a Dodger. The only thing part of the truth is that he's now a Dodger. The rest was wrong. Dylan, can you admit you went overboard on your guy?
Well, I think the adjustment to these, you know, poorly crafted American baseballs has been a bigger issue.
Oh, come on.
Well, look,
they slip out of his hand. That's why.
This is. I wrote this a couple days ago. Right, whatever has happened here, this is not good, because either he's not good, or he's, you know, I mean, Dave Roberts almost sounded relieved that he was injured. Right, it's like, hey, he doesn't suck. Actually, he's been hurt.
We have an explanation.
Right,
yeah.
he has a chronic shoulder problem. Like, that's really problematic. Right, and I don't even know. What do you think's worse? That he's injured, or that because most likely it's probably some combination of the two. It sounds right, like that this happened 2 starts ago.
He said 2 starts ago.
So from the beginning of the season, he's had issues,
and
right?
He didn't tell him. Why didn't he tell him?
Well, his explanation for this is that 2 starts ago he started feeling. He said it wasn't pain. It's just like my shoulder wasn't moving the way I wanted it to. And that he didn't tell the team because there had already been so many injuries up to that point. He still felt like he could pitch. But again, to Dylan's point, like, the question is, okay, was the shoulder the reason his velocity was down? To which Roki himself said he's not sure. He figures it's probably not the only reason that he was struggling in the ways that he was before going on the IL. But yeah, like, they're either way, at least in the short term, right? I still think, like, if you're looking at Roki Sasaki as like a 2 to 3 year project, you know, this probably doesn't change a whole lot.
Well, if he's injured, if he's got chronic shoulder problems, that's a problem.
Now it's not. Again, this doesn't seem like something structural. It seems like even he said this one is less severe than whatever he experienced last year in Japan. But yes, a chronic shoulder.
Could he be using this as a smokescreen to he's not ready yet for the big leagues and he's trying?
Well, I mean, he almost admitted like that's part of it. Like I don't know if he's like, I don't think he's made up an injury so that they can put him on the IL, but he did say, like, this is a chance for me as I stop my throwing progression and then build back up to kind of try to get my delivery and more the place I want, to get my stuff where I want it. So him and the team are looking at it like that, and I think, you know, to probably why Dave Roberts' reaction was what it was is because, yes, at least now you do have something to point to, because this was like a really big question. Like, he was throwing He was down to like 92, 93 a couple times in his last few starts. He was averaging under 95 in like his last 4 starts. And his fastball just can't play there. Like, it's not a fastball with a lot of spin or that rising action that can deceive a hitter. Like, it's a flat pitch that if it's not thrown in the upper 90s or 100 miles an hour is going to get crushed by big league opposition. And they didn't have an answer for like why his velocity had dropped off so much. So now at least
even just the velocity, take the velocity aside though, like even when he had velocity, even in Tokyo, right? I mean, the fact that he couldn't throw, like this is the thing about him. In Japan, he did not have like command problems. I mean, if anything, what made him so good was that it was 100 and he could like more or less like spot it where he wanted, right? And he comes here all of a sudden, this thing is like, I mean, he's not even like, and that's one thing is if you're barely missing, right? Where I think kind of more Yamamoto was, you know, you kind of get into like that nibbling area. This isn't like, I mean, this is like Charlie Sheen and Major League stuff, right? Where it's like way, you know, it's a little outside, whatever. And look, and I'm kind of willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's, you know, part of it's pitch clock, part of it is like the ball slipping. Well, I mean, a guy can't be that good and then that bad all of a sudden. I mean, he was good in, you know, look, and even in that WBC thing, right, when he came out and just like was pumping 100, he did give up a run, I think, in like one of those outings, or in that relief outing, right, when people were kind of like buzzing about him. But you saw it there, like, okay, this guy's going to be like really good. I just haven't seen that guy since he's come over here, right? And so, I don't know. I don't think the guy just kind of like loses it unless like maybe that shoulder thing is, you know, more problematic than we think.
Big problem is the Dodger pitching a big problem. Starting pitching is starting to worry me.
It's becoming a bigger problem. I mean, again, as I think we've said a couple times since the start of the year, it was really tough for me to envision a scenario in which like the pitching becomes the kind of problem it was last year for them. But this is the kind of stuff that would have to happen now.
That's the thing. Isn't this amazing? Right. Here we are like 20 years later, and it's always going to come down to Kershaw.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's going to pitch the elimination game, right, whenever they're down.
It's so unfair to him. He's coming back. He's a warrior. His arm's falling off. He can barely walk, and he's the whole future of the team is based on him. That's unbelievable.
Oh, maybe. I think more of the long-term fate of the team is going to be based on, does Blake Snell come back healthy? I think that's probably the biggest one, because that's a guy who has gone through some first-half injury struggles before, including last year. And then, I mean, last year came back. He was the best pitcher in baseball the second half of the season and has usually been able to, by the second half of seasons, be healthy, be in a good spot to be productive. But it depends on that. It depends on Tyler Glasnow, which I think is a much bigger question. I think at this point, Roki, you almost kind of put in a side bucket for now, because even like when he does come back,
I mean, don't you kind of do that with Glasnow too, though?
Yeah, but if Glasnow comes back and is like there's
but he's never been healthy.
Well,
like you can't.
Yes.
I don't want to hear his name. He's not even part of this team. He's not part of my thinking.
I mean, yeah, we'll talk about him like when he's healthy. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, and I know with Sasaki they're like different issues, whatever. But it's like, okay, we'll talk about him when he solves those. Glasnow's issues, like an injury thing, he's never, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, but
how are you on the cat man, Flash? I mean, is he okay? Because you know, you go Yamamoto. You know, say, let's just assume for now Snell's back in the postseason. And then you got the Catman.
Catman looks good.
Now, Catman has a postseason career ERA of 9.2.
I know, he's terrible.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable with those three and then like some bullpen game stuff?
No.
Yeah, Dustin May.
Yeah. I like the Dustin May more than the Catman.
You got Emmett Sheehan. Dave Roberts said he's going to be a sneaky pick to click.
Wait, so you don't trust the Catman?
No, I don't trust the Catman.
But you trust May?
Yeah, I like May better.
Okay.
May's got better stuff. May's more imposing on the mound. May's just got more moxie, I think, than the Catman. I'm not.
Well, and so
okay, then do you feel comfortable with that rotation? Yamamoto, Snell, May.
No, I mean I'm not comfortable with May or Catman.
So we need Ohtani. Then they need Ohtani.
Yeah, they need Ohtani. They definitely need Ohtani. If they go to the postseason with this rotation and Ohtani's not pitching, something's wrong. That's why they give him all the money. That's why they paid him so much.
They actually got a great deal, I think.
Yeah, but
I don't know if the whole
ordered on the street.
thing.
I know, but still, they paid him a lot of money, and it's because he can do two things. I want to see the second thing. I want to see him do two things. I want to see him do what he's paid for.
What do you mean? Dude, they've made their money back like tenfold.
Yeah, but
he's like the most underpaid athlete in sports.
Yeah, right now he's getting paid $2 million a year. He's
being exploited.
But they paid $700 million. They paid it. They paid. But might as well. They paid for two things. They're not getting. He's shorthanding them.
He's shorthanding
He's
them.
Short shifting them.
Oh my God!
They paid for two things.
He's gonna pay
performance and making money, and he's doing both.
He's tremendous. Best hitter ever. I love best.
Have you looked around the stadium? You can't even read half of the signs, Flash.
Oh, it's tremendous. He's tremendous in that, but they paid him to pitch. We can't forget that. They paid him to also pitch. Would he have gotten $700 million if he was also a pitcher? Answer this.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
He would not have gotten.
Yeah,
no,
he should have. I mean, he should have.
He should have, but he wouldn't have.
Juan Soto just got $765.
Look, Barry Bonds just said that Ohtani shouldn't pitch because he's so good at hitting that he shouldn't risk any of it by pitching. I mean, this is like a legitimate thing in baseball, by the way.
They paid him to pitch.
Well, do you want him to be pitching now? Because it's not like he's saying, "Oh, I'm refusing to pitch now." They're trying to thread the needle on this a little.
I want to see it by August.
I think you will. And if you don't see him by August, then yes, I think it becomes more of a concern. But
who else isn't delivering on his contract? Austin Reeves. I saw you just try to ship him out of town.
Austin Reeves got to go, and then it's so funny. Our big goddamn Wookie writes a column saying, "No, Austin Reeves should stay."
Yeah, Jack, why are you defending Roki like that?
Well, I mean, he's not going anywhere.
Here, yeah, Jack loves Roki. Listen to Jack on Roki. I gotta have it.
Oh boy.
In Tokyo Dome in March, you could hear the zip of the ball. 101 miles an hour, italics. The pop of the catcher's mitt sound like a gunshot.
Italics.
100 miles an hour, italics. Roki Sasaki would lift his left leg almost to his head, stretched far down the left front side of the mound, and let out a grunt as a blur of white leather came screaming in from his hand. Blur of white leather.
I like that line, actually. That's
good. He proofread this. He said, very good.
Hey, Wookie didn't send you his copy before he sent it in?
No. But I think Kershaw, I think you guys were both so into Sasaki that you both have to apologize to the readers.
Shotgun Roki.
What do you mean?
He's pop gun Roki.
Out of bullets.
I mean, he's the one that has to apologize, I think, to the public. I just reported what was going on. I mean, he was really good in Japan.
He went to his hometown and gave Robert a sob story about him and seeing his father die in the tsunami.
I mean, does that matter if he's good or not? That still happened. What, you don't sympathize with victims just because they're bad at baseball?
No, I feel
what kind of human being are you, Plaschke?
I feel bad for that. But you guys idolize this guy. You guys made this guy to be. I don't see you go to Arsenal Barnes' hometown.
What do you mean, Corona?
He's from Riverside.
I'm there every other weekend. My in-laws live there.
What else has stood out to you guys from this last week? Dodgers.
I love Mookie's kid. Running the ball out there.
Well, now, okay, let's go back to the Mookie thing now, right? I mean, I was at the ballpark the other day talking to some people. Everybody is I think we're kind of past the point where it's just like us thinking like, oh, he's a pretty good shortstop. Seems like the consensus is actually he's done really well out there.
He looks great.
But there are some questions I think now and Jack, you brought this up, is this affecting his bat? And how has, I think what's going to make this situation more difficult, right? The situation's kind of gone weird because he's become such a good shortstop that he can argue now legitimately like, hey,
I mean, it's getting tougher to argue that there's clear better shortstops on the team outside of maybe Miguel Rojas.
Yeah.
But even Tommy Edman, that shortstop isn't the spot he's played the most over his career.
I mean, I assume he's going to hit it. I mean, he's Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
right?
So to your question, I wrote about this last week. Part of the problem he feels like he's having with his swing is that he lost all this weight before the season. When he was coming back from that, he got healthy very quick. He put the weight on relatively quick. But in that interim period, bat speed has always been a problem for him. It's never been very good. They sent him to Driveline a couple years ago to try to work on it, and he actually had set some improved baseline numbers earlier in the spring with his bat speed. Don't fall asleep yet. I know this is we're drifting back into
baseball. I just go right to sleep.
But he was basically, while he was 20 pounds underweight, swinging too hard, trying to generate, swinging harder than he needed to, got him out of his developed bad habits. So he's been better the last couple weeks. Now, at the same time, he was 0 for 7 before he hit this double last night and was fired up at the A's dugout because they intentionally walked Shohei Ohtani in front of him. If he's playing well at shortstop, and unless there's some clear correlation that what he's doing at short, the work he's putting in there, which is not as much as he had to last year, right? Like he's able to manage his daily workload with the defensive drills and the hitting drills like a lot better than he could last year when he was taking 200 ground balls a day or whatever. Unless you can directly correlate those two, like I think it's getting harder to make the argument about why he should go play somewhere else at this point, unless you're going to go out and like find somebody externally who can play short better. I mean, even Hae-Sung Kim, I think we brought this up on the last show, but like had to play.
I love watching him play.
Yeah, but like had to play at shortstop where you were like, I wonder if Mookie Betts could have made that. So, yeah, I mean, the shortstop play has been really good. And I think the bat has shown some better signs lately to where, yeah, I think they're going to let this kind of play out for a little while here.
Have any of you all ever taken gummies to go to sleep?
Yes.
I took one the other night, and I took it late, and it wiped me out the whole day. I mean, can I gummy do that?
What do you mean?
I was wiped out the whole day. I was
So
high.
you were like stoned over.
I was stoned for all day yesterday.
I treat my body like a temple, Plaschke.
Oh God, a temple of doom. I was just wondering because I was high. In fact, man, I'm sort of high right now. Can one gummy go take more than 24 hours and take it out of your system? I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt the whole thing. I'm just feeling buzzed right now.
Is it a good one or is it a bad one?
It's a real good buzz.
Okay.
Jack, keep talking about Mookie. Look, I like that very much. I love it. Drive line, short stance, long stance, short and swing, smart baseball. I love that.
Oh my God, Plasch, did you drive yourself here?
Yes,
Are you capable of operating heavy
I'm
machinery?
We got here on time.
I was the first one here. I think the Dodgers are in good shape, and I'm worried about their starting pitching. I'm worried that we're putting Kershaw back on a pedestal when he doesn't need to be because he shouldn't be. He should be extra. He should be gravy. He shouldn't be the main course.
Still feels like more of a, hey, if you could give us some innings right now while everyone else is hurt, that would be helpful.
And the thing is, like with Kershaw, right, whatever external pressure there is, like he's the one that's going to, if he goes like 6 innings, he's going to be kicking himself for not having pitched 7 or 8. So
can I say this? Whoever watched the Dodgers, we've been on the road for the last 10 days. The TV commercials are so depressing. They're all about people with Alzheimer's.
well, those are the people who watch baseball.
It's unbelievable. The commercials are so depressing. They're all for old people's medicines.
In the stadium, do they still have like the Forest Lawn commercials?
Yes.
The funeral ones? The cemetery plot?
I don't know.
But during the average Dodger game, you see like 30 people who have Alzheimer's on your screen. I mean, it's very sad. It brings you down.
Did I take another gummy?
I don't do gummies during the day.
Good thing the Dodger games are at night.
Oh, God.
Okay, well, I'm curious to see how Mark
Did you bring any cake?
sets up this episode. Did I bring any cake?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The munchies now?
Chocolate cake sounds really nice right now. All right.
It's time to call Little Caesars. 4 pizzas and a cake.
Well, the Austin Barnes era is over. The Dalton Rushing era has begun.
Interesting.
And the Dodgers are still winning games.
It's amazing.
Didn't mention that.
What a season. What a team.
All right, well, thank you guys for
Batter
watching.
Da-da-da. We're taking the afternoon off.
It is
It's
a beautiful day for a ball game. Yep.
God, they don't play that anymore, do they?
Yes, they do.
Do they? Where am I?
I don't know. I don't have it stuck in my head for fun.
All I know is we're taking the afternoon off. Thank you, everybody.